Hello, welcome to Full Record Jacket with Phil and Ben. I'm the Phil.
And I'm the Ben.
You're the Ben indeed. So we are talking today about Ryan Adams. Not Brian, it's Ryan.
Ryan.
And specifically his latest habit, which is doing cover versions, not of just songs, but of entire albums by great artists. And on this particular one, we're going to talk about his version of Nebraska, originally by Bruce Springsteen. So this is an album that I was familiar with. I've had the Springsteen album for a very, very long time, decades probably. Ben had never really heard it before, so it was kind of Ryan Adams has introduced Ben to the Springsteen album, so we'll find out what he thinks.
Ryan Adams, Phil. Ryan.
That. Did I just say Brian? Oh,
you did.
It's because I was throwing in the not Brian. I was bound to fall into that trap, wasn't I? But there you go.
Yeah.
So Nebraska, for anyone who doesn't know, Bruce Springsteen's sixth album, a very different album in 1982, followed up his double album, The River, and it kind of is in a similar vein to some of the more darker and more melancholy tracks on The River. It continues that theme, but famously this album was attempted to be recorded by Springsteen with his E Street Band, and they weren't happy with the versions of the songs. And in the end, it was the demo versions that were released. The entire album is made up of Springsteen's demos that were recorded at home on a portable tape recorder.
4-track, wasn't it?
A 4-track, yeah, I believe so. So that's the type of album it is. It is quite, I say, what should we call it, a dark album, and really,
I would say dark.
One of the most sort of bold decisions by a major rock artist to put out such a dark album, and also to do it in effectively demo form. So, first of all, Ben, why is Ryan Adams doing this? Have you any idea?
I think he's covering the albums that sort of were his main influences, isn't he? I think he's sort of taking part, like we've discussed before, when we sort of do our roundups of top fives, etc., and seem to a lot of stuff's pinned to our childhoods. So I presume a lot of this stuff, because he's not of a dissimilar age to you and me. I think he's somewhere in between, and I think it's sort of albums that have inspired him or have shaped his musical landscape. And I think he's just doing them in his own way, I suppose. And,
yeah.
And I suppose he can, because he's Ryan Adams. So
he's a pretty decent songwriter anyway. I wonder whether he's doing it to try and teach himself something about songwriting by getting inside these great artists' songs. But it's not as if he's doing it as a stopgap, because he's pretty prolific. In fact, in the year 2022, he actually put out 3 original albums. One of which I believe is quite a long album. One of it, I think, is a double vinyl. So it's not as if he's having to fill in a gap or anything by doing this.
No, he's almost like a modern-day jazz artist, not as in the genre, but, those 30s, 40s, 50s jazz, they were putting out 2, 3, 4 albums a year. It's he's like Mike Tyson in the 80s, where he had, I think, about 11 fights in 10 months. He's literally the Mike Tyson of music. But fair play to him, because he is prolific and he is good at what he does. Some of it doesn't, we discussed with this album and some of these other covers that he's done. Some of it doesn't always hit home, but it's
I
not bad.
I have to say, I was quite interested to hear this, just to hear what he'd done with it. And after listening to it, I certainly didn't think it was bad. I think it was certainly quite listenable. I don't think it's. I still probably would say that Bruce Springsteen's version is the definitive version, but there were some interesting interpretations on this and some interesting rearrangements, which I'll talk about in a moment. What was your impression of both albums?
Well, I'd never listened to them before, so I listened to them back to back. And I did it while I was decorating, which probably wasn't the best time to do it. And they are dark. Both of them are very dark, very moody, very melancholy, deal with some grim subjects, as it were. These aren't albums to pull on to get you in the party spirit on a Saturday night. That's all I'm going to say. But listening back to back was, I'm not going to lie, it was difficult. It was a real hard listen. I think if I'd done one and then left it a few days and then done the other, I probably would have absorbed it more. But yeah, so it was hard work getting into them. And, both albums are great. I mean, structurally, songwriting was really, really good. But obviously, it was all very dark, so it was quite sort of, if you weren't depressed at the start of listening to it, after listening to both back to back, you were definitely after the Valium. That's all I'm going to, But musically, yeah, they were good for the first time listen. I probably went about it in the wrong way, Phil, really, to properly immerse myself in the music. So, but yeah, that was my overall sort of feeling on them. It was just a little bit hard.
Now, Bruce Springsteen is one of those artists where if you ask his fans which are the best songs, you get lots of different replies. No one can ever quite agree on these things. But for you, what stood out on the album? And is there any track on which Ryan outdid Bruce for you?
I'm not sure, really, because the opening tracks I thought were quite of equal. I think Nebraska's the opening track. I think they were both of equal standing. Because I've only listened to each one once, so it's hard because I haven't done what I've done with his other covers album, which we'll discuss at a later date, where I've listened to one track and then the other track. So I've kind of got a better understanding of them. I quite liked his version of Johnny 99. I thought that was quite good. I thought that was slightly more uplifting than the Springsteen version. I quite liked Highway Patrolman. Thought that was quite good. But they all because of the way I listened to them, they all sort of merged into one. But that I think Johnny 99 was good. I like Mansion. Is it Mansion on the Hill?
Towards
Mansion
the end,
on the Hill? Yeah. That was quite good. But like I said, it's difficult to judge them on one listen. Because if I'm honest, I'd probably sit here and go, do you know what? When I came away from it, I needed half a bottle of wine just to chill my brain out. But it was, I won't, it was a tough listen. But yeah, Johnny 99 was a good bit. I like Ryan's Adams version of that. To be fair, I think Ryan Adams' album is probably more uplifting and slightly more up-tempo than Springsteen.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think what he's done is typical with Ryan Adams. If he's covering a song that was originally up tempo, sometimes he slows it down and does it in a more moody version. And if the song was originally a bit moody, he sometimes adds a bit of tempo and changes things about. He's certainly done that with this. Atlantic City, one of the most celebrated Springsteen songs.
Yeah,
I think he's done a decent version of that. I approached this with an open mind. Some Springsteen fans will not like this idea at all because they'll say it's you're tampering.
Sacrilege.
Yeah, you're tampering with something. I'm always open-minded on it because I'm just interested to see what he has done as a fan of it, and also whether he can shed any different light on a particular song and interpret it differently. The two that stood out for me, one, State Trooper. I've always really liked Bruce Springsteen's State Trooper. I just like the darkness and the story of it. This guy driving along the road and praying under his breath that the State Trooper doesn't stop him, and very, very bare bones, very atmospheric. Ryan Adams has gone for more of a sort of a noisy rock version of this. It's sort of very, very raw, a lot of echo on it, just totally different. At first I reacted a bit against it because obviously I like the original so much, but I also think it's quite good. He's taken the riff in a different direction, and I don't think he inhabits the song and brings across the character study as well as Springsteen does, but it's still an enjoyable version. It's something a bit different, so I did enjoy that. I thought the closing track, Reason to Believe,
I was
that's different because he's turned it into a piano ballad
Yeah,
rather than acoustic, which does, the use of piano does give it a little bit more of a
uplifting feel.
yeah, it gives it a bit more variety to this Adams
Yeah.
version, because the Bruce album is all acoustic guitars and harmonica pretty much. So I thought that was refreshingly different, and I thought it was a good version of that, and I think it probably stands comparison with the original. The one that I really liked is Open All Night, which is the rockabilly rock and roll style song in the Springsteen version. It has a similarity to State Trooper, this song, because there are some lyrics, some lines that are similar. But Springsteen did this as a, say, rockabilly 1950s style Chuck Berry sort of song. Ryan Adams slows it right down to be this ballad, and really just sort of throws light on the lyrics and makes it into a completely different song. It's totally different experience. And for me, I'm thinking now that is one of the very
better version
covers of a Springsteen song. Whether it's better, it's just so different. I mean, they do two different things, so I don't really think they can be compared. But I think as a complementary cover version of a Springsteen song that stands comparison with the original and is different, I thought that was very impressive. So Open All Night for me is the highlight of this Ryan Adams cover of Nebraska.
Yeah. I did say to you at the time when I first listened to it, I think I messaged you and said, Open All Night sounds like Springsteen doing Chuck Berry, because it's got that very distinctive, almost Johnny B. Good guitar in it, hasn't it? It's very sort of... But like I said, I've only listened to each one once, and like I said, it was hard going. But on their merits, if you to just listen to one at a time, if you wanted to put something on a slow burner in the background, you can't, but you wouldn't want to listen to both of them back to back.
No, but
when you're decorating,
I'm going to say if you're a Springsteen fan, particularly if you are open-minded to this and you don't mind Ryan Adams's vocal style, if you just want to go into the world of Nebraska in a slightly different way and just experience it a bit differently, I do think this is a worthy version. I certainly think it's good. I'm not saying it's great, but I think it's worth a listen. You may find some stuff you like on it.
Yeah, I think if you can see anything in a slightly different light, like you say, you might hear lyrics in a different way, and you might understand them a little bit better. But yeah, normally when I like my covers to be, a rock band doing a pop cover, like the sort of Travis doing Britney Spears, that sort of stuff. But if I was a Bruce Springsteen fan, which I'm not a massive fan, I've got stuff of his, I don't listen to him as often as you do, I wouldn't be displeased with this version that Ryan Adams has done. I'd be like, that's not a bad version. He could have ruined it, and he hasn't. So don't be picking a fight, Springsteen fans.
Well, with that, pretty much my verdict as well. I'm saying, good, respectable, and
it's a thumbs up for me.
I'm going to give it a thumbs up. Yeah, I think it's okay.
I think I'll give it 3 3/3 Phil and Ben's out of 5.
Yeah, I would have said it was a difficult one. I would say at the most it's probably a 3 for me. I could give it kind of a 2 on the basis that 2 is not bad. 2 is perfect for me. A 2 is good and perfectly respectable. If you're a fan of the artist, it's perfectly good. It doesn't, to me, a 4 and a 5 is, that's something that if you're not even a fan of that artist, normally this is an outstanding album. I think to me, it's a kind of, I'm giving him, I suppose, a kind of half marks, but I'm saying, maybe a 3 if I'm feeling generous, but that's it. That's our verdict then on
I've
Ryan
gone big
Adams.
with that, haven't I? I've gone big. 3 3/4.
You've gone big on Ryan Adams' Nebraska. So tell us, what do you think of this? Have you streamed it yet? Are you a fan of the original? What do you think of Springsteen's album? What do you think of Ryan Adams doing this? Are you outraged? Do you welcome the idea? Give us your opinions. Make us a comment. And while you're at it, give us a like, give us a share, give us a follow.
Give us a subscribe, if that's a word. And share us with people you don't like.
Join us again for another video on Full Record Jacket. From me, take care. Goodbye.
Bye.
I don't know why I did that.